Oh, Fightful Faithful, welcome to a raw edition of Sour Graps. I'm your host, Alex Pawlowski. Everything doesn't suck anymore. With me, as always, is Kate. Kate, I said to you, Hunter being in charge of Raw is good for wrestling and bad for Sour Graps. This is going to put me out of business, and I don't know what to do about it. Because I honestly really liked most of the show.
Alex, I'm having a bit of an identity crisis because I'm already filling in for Denise Salcedo, which is why I have the wedding veil.
Yeah.
But also, it's been so long since I have almost entirely liked an episode of Raw. I don't know really what to do with myself. The one after MSG was like okay, and then had the Big E moment, right?
Yeah.
But what was really impressive to me is, and I'm going to take off this veil momentarily because I'm realizing how ridiculous I sound wearing it. What's really impressive to me about this is this was almost 3 hours of really good wrestling, and it didn't have Cody, and it didn't have the main title. And it only had one mid-card title, which they threw some prestige back on, and a lot from the women's division, obviously, which we're gonna talk about a lot. But just an incredibly impressive feat to A, ever book 3 hours of wrestling well, and B, to do so without your champion on the show, or most of your titles, really. I mean, they had the tag titles there too, obviously, but my goodness, like they said it was going to be a statement Raw. It was a statement Raw. I thought we were going to be seeing this level of growth in a few months down the line. But man, nope. Here we go. We're in the Hunter era now.
Before we get too deep into the weeds, we should probably explain. If you were expecting to see Sean Rochap and Denise Salcedo, they are off tonight. You got the B team, which is really the A team.
There it is.
You got because Denise got married yesterday, so she's on her honeymoon.
She did.
Hence, and Sean is on the lam because I heard he murdered some guy over the weekend, just verbally assaulted a man and left him near death.
It's true.
And so he just listen. The authorities are looking into it, but so far they realize he deserved it. So it's totally fine. However, he's on the lam for now. He'll be back soon. Now, we talked about the SummerSlam 2 days ago, and we're like, okay, let's see what we go on the Raw after SummerSlam, because there's the potential for a lot of really great things here, especially this women's division. I think we should mention to start out with Becky Lynch separated her shoulder. There's a photo going around of her shoulder just ganked to all hell. It's really actually unsettling to look at. I cannot believe she wrestled most of a match in that kind of pain. That's amazing. But she's hurt. And I really wonder what the plan was for if Becky Lynch is fully healthy coming out of that match going forward, leading us through the next few months. But it sure seems like old Trips is able to think on his feet, because he got us whatever plan A was. Plan B looks pretty damn good. We'll talk more about this faction warfare that's going forward, but I will say this. You have what is available to you is a storyline that can carry the show. Just straight up carry the show. I don't know, through Survivor Series where you have the final blow off. Like that's something really cool where you could do it that way. Dare I say it's Trips, so maybe we'll see the first ever main roster War Games match.
Oh my God. That would be incredible. Yeah, so I'll just say I was very I'm always impressed by Becky Lynch, and I thought their match was probably, from a ring perspective, match of the night. at the pay-per-view. I thought it was fantastic. And I had said that she was such a ring general and that Bianca is such a star that it just made for a really lovely combination. I don't know how you are able to be not only able to finish the match, but be able to kind of, I felt like, I don't want to make it sound like Bianca's having her hand held because she's beyond that, but there's a ring general in there, and it was Becky Lynch, and to be that mentally locked in when her shoulder was separated for the majority of that match is incredible. Never mind the execution, never mind the fact that she was still selling moves, she was still very much in the match. So obviously, what a huge blow coming like into the Triple H era. My guess is she would have been where Alexa Bliss was tonight. Would just be my guess. I think they would have done the work to make Asuka and Becky make up. But that purely speculation.
Yeah, I would assume so as well. We got the Becky promo. She really is just a perfect baby face, isn't she? It's kind of weird that they forced her to be a heel for a year for no friggin' reason. Like, here's the deal, guys. Like, I'm very positive about what's going forward, but a lot of my my positivity about what's going forward has to come from recognizing that all of the unforced errors made by the previous regime, where they didn't have to do all this stuff that made Raw nigh unwatchable for years. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, don't fight against it. Let's get this thing here, do this thing. Hey, I got an idea. How about some great wrestling on your wrestling show? All this other kind of stuff. But like, one of them is Becky comes back. You don't even let us get a moment of being able to be like, yay, Becky's back. We missed her so much. She went off to become a mother, and that's awesome and honorable. And here she is back, willing to entertain us. We want to love her. Let us love her. And the first thing they did was say, nope, you have to boo this person. And it didn't take for a long time. It took a long time for us to be like, you know what? Actually, I guess I have to boo this person. But a lot of people never did. She was still getting pretty big reactions as a babyface, even when she was pulling the most dastardly stuff possible. Now she comes out and she cuts the most effortless. Like, here's what she did. She says, I lost myself in trying to be the person who gets all of your attention without realizing who I actually am, which is the person who perseveres and has all the grit and all that kind of stuff. Like that person, the person who somehow makes it through that match on Saturday, not the person with the crazy clothes and all the weird stuff to try and just get everybody's eyeballs on her. The real me. And that is a true heel turning babyface promo.
Yes.
That's how you do that. We saw a great example of how not to do that later in the show, but this first one was perfect.
This was great. I love that she also became the man again, like her just reverting back to the thing that we knew and fell in love with. And what Bianca did after this, I also am so excited to talk about, because I think she did a great job bridging the gap between wanting to beat up Becky and wanting to have her respect. I thought she did a wonderful job with that. But you know how I know we're so excited about this episode, Alex?
What's that?
We never told anybody to get in their super chats. We never told anyone to get in their humper chats. We never told everyone to leave a thumbs up on this video. And we never told you that tonight is the Raw Post Show for August 1st, brought to you by NordVPN and Manscaped. So there you go. We forgot the whole spiel.
You do this whole thing on. You do this stuff on Tuesdays, so I don't know how to do it. You're tired. You had to do Ric Flair nearly dies in the ring last night. So you're tired, and I always let you do this schmeal on Tuesday, so that's why I forgot. I'm sorry.
Everybody now just in the chat too, I'm seeing people are like, are we doing chats tonight? Yes, we are doing them. You can also go to twitch.tv/FightfulGaming and donate bits to us on Twitch, which we appreciate. So please, we want to talk about this with you. I think Alex and I are just so excited to have something fun to talk about really on WWE programming. It was so refreshing tonight. But yes, as far as the opening of the show goes, it was really unfortunate news Becky is just such a force to be reckoned with in women's wrestling. What an incredible amount of contribution she's made to this point in her career already. Like, and she is so likable that, like, even when she was a heel, I was still rooting for her so much. Like my smart mark brain was like still rooting for her. I thought the stuff she did with Liv as a heel was really great. Some stuff she's done in interviews was super fun, but she's just really likable. Like, I really want to cheer for her. So I'm so glad that Triple H feels the same as I do from a booking perspective. I also feel like part of the Achilles heel of the last regime was that they love having heel champions, which is fine, but not oversaturation. Like, the amount of time someone would become champion and turn heel, or have to turn heel to become champion, was just getting exhausting. And I personally, just as a matter of taste, I prefer a nice mix. I prefer a guy that is holding something that all the good guys are chasing after a lot of times. It's a super fun story, but I also want to be able to cheer for a champion on my show on occasion. So I think that it's a healthy decision to turn Becky face. If Becky was going to be an Alexa's track or Asuka's track, I feel like that would have been a really fun story to build out alongside Bianca as well. But really, really unfortunate news to open the show. But I think a great promo that got delivered. And when she comes back, I mean, God, she came back from giving birth not too long after, and she was doing some of the best work of her career in ring-wise especially. So best wishes to Becky. That's a rough injury, and I can't believe how well she performed in the match at SummerSlam with it. Just nuts.
Yeah, it's it's kind of crazy the way that she says, you know, she changed her Twitter bio to or Twitter handle to the man or whatever again, and then she traced her whole thing around that. I don't let the match define me. I define the match. No man will define me. I define the man. And then Bianca comes out and says, "You don't just define the man. You are the man." And they have another embrace. It's great. And then Becky says, "Okay, you hold it down, B. I'll be back." And I thought that was such a great way to, like, for her to, like, just go out and be like, obviously I'm not going to be around. I got to get some rehab on this thing. But you,
yeah,
Raw is in good hands with you, and I'll be back. Don't you worry about it. I thought it was a really great way of doing it. Then Bianca does, I don't know, 4 or 5 words, and we cut to the back, and it's Bayley and the Bayley buddies just murdering poor Becky Lynch backstage. And I was like, yes. Because here's the deal. I love Becky Lynch just like saying, "Okay, B, you hold it down. I'm leaving. I'll be back though." But I love even more Bayley being like, "Well, you may be back, but I'm going to try and make sure you take even longer to come back, because I know if you're gone, then we have run of the thing here, because at this point, Bianca's all by her lonesome. So if we can keep you out for 6, 8, 12 months by really hurting you, then great. That's good." And I thought that was excellent. That made a lot of sense. I love Bianca seeing it and immediately sprinting backstage in heels to try and stop everything, getting pissed about everything, and the trainers trying to help Becky. I thought all that was so great. The Bayley bunch, as we're going to call them now until they come out with a true faction name, they're already killing it as a faction. It's some really, really good stuff.
So I actually do want to dig into what Bianca said, because I thought it was great. She had really done a wonderful job here of just addressing the elephant in the room.
Yeah, that's true.
You're probably wondering why I give a crap about the respect of this person when we've been trying to beat the crap out of each other for the past year. Well, let me tell you. And she kind of did a really great job, I think, of talking about their story and saying that this started with a handshake and it's ending with a handshake, and that in that time she kind of earned her stripes, and that she respects Becky Lynch for the challenge, which I thought that was really good stuff. And it also was a sincere enough moment that it made the backstage attack a little bit more surprising. Like, I think it was possible you could have seen that coming. I figured that was something that might happen, but something that you mentioned before was Becky came back and they didn't even give us a minute to cheer for her. They did the same thing with Bayley, but this is just so damn cool that it's an exception to that. I think Bayley is going to be working heel, obviously, moving forward here, but to come back with Io and to come back with Dakota, who wasn't even with the company, like, just makes my heart sing. It's funny because I kind of want to cheer for all three of them too, but having a heel powerhouse stable running roughshod when you have a babyface champion, you were turning Becky face, right? So you kind of needed the balance on the other side of that. That's a little bit of a different ball game. I kind of still wanted to cheer for Bayley just because I was so excited to see her back, but this just has a different feeling to it than when Becky came and cut Bianca's legs out from under her, and they had to do a full year of programming to correct that mistake, right? So this just feels different. I think she's a different type of heel. Showing up with two other women, I think, is so cool. And Bayley's evolution in WWE is just so special, to go from the hugger to the heel that she was, that was serious, to the ding dong hello stuff, to back to this more middle ground relatable heel. So she's so good. She's so good at a lot of this. I think she's going to have a lot of value in helping Io and Dakota get over immediately. And I'm just all for this balance of women's wrestling in the show. And they got nearly as many segments as the men did. An immediate difference that I noticed.
Yeah. We got some Humper and super chats. Nerd Guru, who's always supporting all things Fightful and all things Sour Grab, says Becky's promo was perfect. Planted the seed for when she comes back for a monster babyface pop and run. I cannot wait for that. I think she'll be back sooner than we think. Like, she should be the last member of Team Bianca at Survivor Series versus Team Bayley. Like, that might be something.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
Nerd Guru says Becky was made to be a babyface. That is an undisputable fact. But she was a great heel from day one through SummerSlam. Yeah, the 2022 was better than the tail end of 2021. Nobody really bought it. They were like, okay, so when do we get to cheer for you again? Through the end of the fall. But that was top-notch heel work during 2022.
Yeah, her work also got better as she got more comfortable with it. I think it was not a fit, so it took her a minute to find her stride.
Yeah. Nerd Guru finishes saying, I think that was the best Raw in forever. Really great stuff. Great in-ring, great pacing. Old habits die hard with DQs and whatnot, but even then I understood why they did them. And above all, the man is going to come around once again. Heal up quick, Bex. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We got a thing, I believe it was WrestleVotes tweeted it out that, like, the show was so jam-packed that the USA Network said, you know what, you can just go ahead and run the first hour without any ads if you want. And I was like, they could just do that. That's pretty cool. And they did. They ran the first hour without ads. And the pacing didn't feel like they were like, oh crap, what do we do here to fill the time we normally would do with commercials? They actually just did a full-on hour of really good wrestling. With really good professional wrestling, meaning the sports entertaining side and also like actual in-ring stuff. But Daryl Fenderson says 1 hour of free ads made the second 2 hours suck ass. Yeah, I can see how it definitely. Here's where I found it. We're gonna talk about this in a second. The triple threat in the first hour felt like a much better match because there were no ads in it. And the second triple threat match, which happened in the second hour, was like, all right, oh, okay. And you like there's the picture in picture, but I was like, I'm not really watching the picture in picture. so yeah, that kind of did that. But we were told ahead of time we're gonna get the undisputed tag team title match. Was gonna be the main event with the Mysterios getting a shot against the Usos, and we also were told that we're gonna have 2 triple threat matches, creating the 2 winners of those 2 matches fight each other later in the night, and then the winner of that faces Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship. And imagine that, Kate, using 6 really talented wrestlers to fight against each other to get down to 2 guys, to have another great match, to use in-ring storytelling and actual in-ring work to determine who is the best and who gets to face the champion. Imagine that. It's a crazy idea. Never been tried before, but thank God for Triple H innovating on his first week.
So I did see a lot of stuff on social media that was like, Triple H is a genius. And I was like, wrong. He's a magician. He is a magician that he closed the gap from where we were to where we are now so quickly. He is not a genius because a lot of what he did was very simple, fundamental, extremely get out of your own damn way kind of stuff tonight. This was not him innovating. This wasn't him reinventing the wheel. This was him getting the product to make sense again. And because the question has never been about the talent that was there, guys. The question has never been about WWE's roster and their abilities. The question, for the most part, the question has been, why the hell are you using them like this? So when people say things like he's a genius, I feel like, no, I think he's very smart. I think he's very well studied. I think he is a magician for what he did tonight. This was a perfect example of something that was incredibly similar. Somebody in the chat saying Triple H is a wizard. I love it. But very, very simple stuff here. Very, very simple stuff here. Stakes. So to the point of the second half of the show dragged a little bit more than the first. Yes, the ads didn't help, but I also think part of it was because so many of the things in the second half were circling back to so many of the things that happened on the first half of the show, which I don't mind because it's all within the same rule book, right? But it was like, I saw Ciampa once this episode already or whatever, like little things like that. So I don't have complaints about it, but I do think the momentum of that first hour slows down a little bit when you're circling back on things that just kind of happened. But really, really loved like how simple it was to just build out stakes. Little things like Booker T joining on commentary for an important match, like a video package. We're going to talk about it later, but for the US title, like such simple stuff here, guys. Like I see it, and like dorky stuff in the chat, like Tony Khan is nervous. No, he's not. He put on one of the best Dynamites ever put on Wednesday. I don't think anybody's nervous. I think maybe in this weird world, Alex and I just get to maybe enjoy watching the wrestling that we're covering from wall to wall. Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
I think that iron sharpens iron, as they like to say. It is a cliche in WWE terms, but it actually is true in this case. The competition is good. It's good. Like when Nitro was at its peak before the fall, and Raw had to program against them and back and forth. That was uniformly, everyone agrees, the best era to be a wrestling fan was like 97 through 99. It was a very, very brief window. Hopefully we get a longer shelf life there. But I would love it if everybody tuned in to both shows and had a rip-roaring good time and didn't have to like yell at each other about which one's better. Just can they both dorky. Can they both be good and we enjoy both watching them? So we got a bunch of Humper and super chats here. We're going to go through them now pretty quick. Here we go. Tremaine Perryman says, glad this sour Graps isn't so sour. Cheers to enjoying wrestling. Cheers to enjoying wrestling. Cheers to you two and cheers to the chat. Thank you, Tremaine. JB Pringle says, never underestimate the power of sour. That's good.
It's true.
And JB Pringle also says, Monday night primetime SGS is in effect. Strap in, new kids. We're in for a fun time. Papa Elizabeth and the Council of Marks. May your gabagool runneth over. That has so many in-jokes in one sentence. I don't even know how to begin. It's
impressive. We said bring the weirdness of Team Kalex, me and Alex, over to the Monday night show. Challenge was accepted. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Another thing that I just, because there's not really a natural place for this to fit in, but while we were talking about the commercial breaks, overall, the pacing of this show,
So good.
Man, Raw felt like doing biology homework for a really long time. It was like so slow and it was a chore to watch and it was so tedious. The production overall of the pacing, the lack of nonsensical backstage segments, the lack of bitch and balls promos, so many really like refreshing changes. And again, these simple little ones. Alex, we didn't get one of these tonight.
No
balls promo.
Nope.
But you know what I will say, Alex?
What's that?
Sometimes like dudes gotta take care of their balls. Like let's just be honest. Maurice's purse is not like that far off base. You want him to be in great condition. You want him to be looking good.
Practically bedazzled.
But you need the right tools to do it, Alex, because it can be painful if not. So I think what should happen is that Sean Ross Sapp should sneak in here real fast, definitely not in a pre-tape, and tell you all about it as we phone him in. Sean, are you with us?
Surely you didn't think that just because I'm not physically on this show that we would shave off our ad reads, right? Oh no. Because we're busy shaving something else off, my friends. Make sure you have those manicured nuts with Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping if you use the code FIGHTFUL at manscaped.com. Oh, man. You don't want to look like you've gone through a main event match with your nutsack when you're trying to care for them. And Manscaped makes sure that you don't with that Perfect Package 4.0. The hygiene bundle includes the Lawnmower 4.0, Weed Whacker, Boxers Travel Kit, and liquid formulations. That Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof with advanced skin-safe technology to reduce nicks and cuts, and even has a light to help you with your close shave. The Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer makes sure you whack those nasty weeds in your delicate holes. And it also has proprietary skin-safe technology. But even beyond that, you get the Boxers. You get the travel bag. They've got a foot duster. They've got a crop reviver. It's a ball toner, of all things. Plus the crop preserver to prevent chafing. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code FIGHTFUL. Manscaped.com.
Take care of your balls, especially if they're massive. Especially if you've bejeweled them, you want to make sure the jewels stay in place. Nice and shiny. Yes, a few more of these things, these Humber chats here. Wrestling Breakdown says, congrats on the marriage, Denise. Congrats on taking out the trash, Sean. Any thoughts or hopes on what HHH will do with the 24/7 title? My thoughts and hopes are that we never hear about it again. It just fades into the background and nobody ever mentions it ever again. That's my hope.
I think it was Will Washington who said on Twitter, like, I don't even need you to explain it away. Like, just get rid of it.
Yep.
It could be a fun device if they used it differently. I usually try to give alternatives when I say stuff like that. I don't really have that as I have just been married. So I just am like a little distracted, a little all over the place from the big day. But I don't know. Give it to R-Truth. R-Truth had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I suppose. I think when he's ready to retire, he should just ride off into the sunset with it. With his baby.
That would be really fun. Because like it was fun initially when him and Carmelo were doing silly stuff with it. Like I don't know.
Yeah. So we got our very first triple threat tonight, which was AJ Styles versus Mustafa Ali versus The Miz. And it was just an awesome match. Mustafa Ali, we knew he wasn't going to win. We knew.
But he was on my television wrestling in a good match. It was
pretty great. Like there was he got to do some of his great work, which is he will sell the hell out of whatever the hell you do to him. He will make you look like $1 trillion, and then he will fly out of nowhere off the top rope to the outside to hit a tornado DDT and murder AJ Styles, because that's what he did, and it was pretty great. The Miz got to be his sneaky self. AJ Styles was excellent. This didn't feel, for the most part, like a typical, okay, you and me will fight while that guy takes a nap, and then we'll switch it up 2 minutes later. Didn't feel like that. There was some really good psychology going on. I think what a lot of people will remember is the finish, which was AJ having been murdered on the outside by a tornado DDT off the top rope. He was out. And so Mustafa Ali does his 450 to the Miz, which pops him up, kind of like his legs fly up, and perfect position to be picked up into the Styles Clash without a hitch. Absolute perfect timing. He gets Styles Clashed onto the Miz. My one note.
I knew it.
He could have pinned the Miz. Like, he could have pinned the Miz.
Could have.
Because the Miz was the guy who got 2 finishing moves done to him, basically. Like, he got a 450 splash to him, and then the Styles Clash onto him. I mean, you could have pinned the Miz. You didn't need to pin Mustafa Ali. Like, you didn't need to. That's my only note, and it's only because I'm a huge Mustafa Ali guy. But the fact that they
let's let the people know, in case they don't. Your toxic trait is
yes, a toxic trait. If it's not perfect, I have to suggest something that might make it better.
Oh, that too. But specifically, you can have the best match in the world, and if the finish is meh, it's gone. It's done for Alex.
Listen, that is part of it. If there's a moment in there that I'm like, what I want is perfection, and the things that make me because that's again my toxic trait. What I want is perfection, and when you get so close to it, and you do something stupid with the booking, it makes me so angry that you got that close and willingly decided not to do the obvious, in my mind, obvious thing that would have achieved perfection. So this really, in the grand scheme of things, not nearly as bad as, let's say, I don't know, Jake Hager grabbing Bryan Danielson's leg. Like, yeah, I mean, that's whatever. I will say, obviously, we thought AJ was going to win, and he did, and it was a really great, cool looking finish. Everybody got to look great in it. Mustafa Ali looked excellent. The Miz got to be the Miz. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things of, here we go. Let's go. Let's do more of this. More of really good wrestling. I have a formula, I believe, for what can make Raw awesome going forward, and it doesn't even involve Roman Reigns showing up to work once.
I had the same thought as you did about The Miz, but then I was kind of like, it was so cool though, so I don't really care. But yeah, my only thing at the beginning of this was like, The Miz he's certainly not the worst in-ring guy, but he's not Mustafa Ali or AJ Styles. And I was a little nervous about how he was going to hang, but this was really well agented. Like, and The Miz got to your point, do his Miz thing. There was story carryover that had started at SummerSlam. And once AJ won, I think I was like, I know what the writing on the wall is. And I got very excited about it. But this was really, really great. These matches are also getting more time. And I think in a 3-hour show, if you're not giving matches a lot of time, you're a big weirdo, because it's 3 hours. So very nice to see. To your point, it wasn't two guys wrestling and then a guy playing possum and sneaking a win at the end, which is a playbook they've gone to, I think, far too many times of recent. But this was super, super fun. What an awesome way to follow up the women's segment. They just like give you what you want sometimes. Like Mustafa Ali in awesome matches on my show. AJ Lee one of the best wrestlers of all time.
Styles.
Well, both, but yes, I meant AJ Styles.
The Batted to One Jam Beer says Alex has one flaw. Why pin this person? We have a perfect Miz to pin. It's true. It's true. Always pin the Miz. When in doubt, pin the Miz. Yeah, I thought this was great. The thing is that is a big step is you got Mustafa Ali put in this position, allowed to shine in defeat in a big spot on TV. That's a step up. That's a huge step up. And
yes.
and you're going to see a lot of. I think you're going to see a lot of people who were neglected, frankly, by the previous regime, and Triple H says, "No, I see something in this person. We're going to use you." And frankly, you're going to see the opposite. You're going to see people who were put in prominent positions before, who Triple H is like, honestly, I don't think we're going to be using you in the same way. For example,
or not like this, and
right.
or not right now.
Right. For example, Ezekiel got pinned by Omos on Main Event. And when I think of the months that they spent running the Ezekiel isn't actually Elias, even though he obviously is Gag, straight into the ground until it came out the other side in China. Months they did that. And it was all for, well, he's going to lose to the big stiff on Main Event. Like, I knew that gimmick had a shelf life from the very beginning that was never going to actually work out to be anything real. And now it just is. Like, do I miss seeing Omos and Ezekiel on Raw? No, I don't. However, it does make all of that time they wasted trying to build them up seem all the more infuriating. That's all.
Yes, but that's a no-win situation, right? And this is the bigger win of those two things.
Right.
Omos just isn't there in the ring. Him with MVP was not working for me. I feel like if Stokely was Malcolm Bivens, that could have worked. But I don't think there's any other manager that you could have paired him with that feels like young and fresh enough to do what needs to be done to get a guy like Omos over, because he's just not good enough yet in the ring. Yeah. And Elias, Ezekiel, whatever, that worked. That actually worked for me for like a good 4 to 6 weeks. It should not have. If literally anybody other than Kevin Owens, maybe Sami Zayn, but probably not, was in that position, that doesn't work at all for me. And that's no offense to Elias Elrod, whatever. That it's just a very, very specific particular thing. And to your point, they ran it into the ground. So I don't know what becomes of him. I think he did all right with what he was handed. I think he's pretty good in the ring. I don't know what he comes back as. That's because that one's so weird. It's tough to reverse engineer it.
Yeah. It
like
really
I don't know the path out of that one, but
right. Moving forward, we got Seth Rollins doing an in-ring promo about how much he hates Riddle. And then he's interrupted by the Street Profits. And I was like, I honestly don't know why the Street Profits give a damn. And then he goes like, I know you guys are buddies with Riddle. Like, oh, right, the pot thing. That makes sense. I forgot about how they had like a couple of things where like remember how the Street Profits hated RK Bro? Like almost turned heel. They hated them so much.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh well, now we're fine. And I forgot about that. But so then they they talk about hey, you call us losers. Aren't you the guy who got his ass kicked by Cody Rhodes when he only had one boobie? That's what they actually said. That's a quote.
Balls. Word over balls. You want to go around saying Cody had one boobie? You got 3 to 6 months on it. Yeah, it's good.
I love. I thought that was good. And him being like, okay, one of you. He says, I come up there and I kick you both of you, but there's 2 of you and there's only 1 of me. That wasn't fair. It's like, well, how about just one of us comes down there and beats you up? And then Montez is the one who's chosen, I guess, by paper, rock, scissors, and he comes down there. And this is what I thought as soon as this started. Don't you hate it when your wife makes a new best friend, and then you meet that new best friend's husband, and he's a complete jerk? Doesn't that suck? Because I just love the idea of Becky Lynch now turning babyface, but her husband is still that asshole, crazy Joker wannabe who needs the crazy clothes to get everybody's attention. The stuff that she immediately swore off on. Her husband's still doing the same thing. And they're husband and wife in canon. They've mentioned it several times. So it's a very odd thing. But I just thought it was kind of funny that Bianca and Becky are going to be hanging out now. They're new besties. And like, we're going to have a barbecue. Come on. And then Montez and Seth Rollins have to try and make small talk, even though they hate each other's guts. That's funny.
And Seth Rollins is the guy who just knows how to grill better than everybody. He's just the guy who just knows how to do everything.
Even though he doesn't.
Even though he doesn't.
Yep.
He doesn't even know what wood chips to buy. This was great for a few reasons. One, if they want to set up a tag match situation and Kevin Owens walks back into the picture, I would love Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens tagging against the Street Profits. If that's not the direction they go into, this was just a great match. Montez Ford versus Seth Rollins, how great! What a fun thing to give us. They know we like Seth Rollins. He's a heel, but we still like him, right? Yep. We like him as a heel. We love Montez Ford. Here's a match. And there's a loose enough story that you can grasp onto it. Seth Rollins also, he got to go with the crowd. Did you notice that? He sounded like a human being for a little bit of this.
Yeah,
and he was getting under the skin of the crowd. And I was like, oh my gosh, because they're not piping in crowd reactions anymore. He doesn't have to time his promos out to pressing the play button on crowd reactions. And he was walking around. So many of those promos were just stand in place and say the same dry stuff over and over and over again. This was really refreshing. So I really liked it. It made me really, really happy that this was kind of turn of the hour, right? Going into hour 2, I feel like.
Yeah, around then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice. And this was when I looked up at the clock and was like, holy cow, we have not had an episode of Raw that moved that quickly in a very long time. Very, very long time. So I loved it. Montez and Seth, you knew we were going to put on an incredible match. I don't think that was ever in question.
Yep. Montez is special. I almost want to figure out a way to push him as a singles guy while not having to move away from Dawkins. They don't have to tag together.
New
Dawkins
Day.
Kind of. Yeah. New Day's a really special case, but
you don't necessarily have to break up to pursue.
I don't want one of them have to turn heel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just
I don't want to do this is an amicable breakup for a time or whatever. It's fine to be we're going to go our separate ways, but we'll always be boys. There's something to do there where we can do that. But Montez Ford is really special and he deserves a good singles push. This was a great match between him and Seth Rollins. And Seth wins with the stomp because of course he does. And then he decides he's going to go for another stomp. And they put the camera right up on mid-chest up on Seth Rollins. And they only usually do that if they want to make sure for sure we don't see the person sneaking into the ring or whatever. And I was like, who is this going to be, this big debut? And they pull out, it's just Angelo Dawkins saving his buddy. That's all it was. Yeah. It wasn't even it wasn't anything, but I was like, are we going to get a lights out thing? Whose music is going to hit? And it's just Angelo. It's fine. Which it was. It was fine. It's fine. But I don't know if this is just a thing to bide time. If the second, if the major Soul Raw match, because we got Roman versus Drew, but at the Clash'll is going to be Seth versus Riddle at the Clash'll. That's where we want to do this. We want to make sure that's our big male marquee match from Raw. Fine. I'm fine with that. I don't know how what this dalliance with the Street Profits might be for Rollins until Riddle comes back and they get that heated up back up again. But it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know either. Either Seth Rollins could find a friend, or Triple H said, these are two of the best talents that we have, and they have nothing to do on this episode. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. The Battle of One Jam Beard says, can you say KO to team with Seth? I think it's Theory. Well, thank you for suggesting an infinitely worse option. You're probably right. I think it's more likely they've done the work of having Kevin say, I hate Seth now because he was mean to me that one time. So they could always retcon that. They've been retconning a lot of things lately, but I think it is more likely that it's Theory, unfortunately.
I don't hate that. If he fails his cash in and Seth has a fun story with him, I don't mind it. Because my problem isn't Theory. My problem was the way, I have problems with Theory, but aside from real life ones, my problem is not even so much him as a character. Like the Vince stuff was kind of cringy, but it was like a story that made sense, at least in a world that didn't make sense. My issues were when they were doing things like having qualifying matches and then just having him win Money in the Bank. Most of my Theory heat was, I don't think this guy is that special, and I don't understand him getting pushed that hard. So if he's not near a title picture, I don't really have a problem with it. And on top of it, I didn't like how the booking was going. So if the booking around him makes sense with a Theory Seth Rollins tag team, I actually don't hate that. I just don't want him near a title picture right now because I don't think he's proven anything. He's mostly the most impressive stuff he's done is gotten F5 by Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean?
Here's how I do it. You have Seth take Austin under his wing. Like, I'm the best Money in the Bank cash-in ever, and I see a little bit of my younger self in you, so I'm going to help you through this whole thing. And they start doing some tags together or whatever, and he mentors him, and then they have a falling out. Like he stomps Theory on the briefcase, and Theory wants a match with Seth Rollins. I'm going to kick your ass, and Seth says, I'll have the match with you for that briefcase. Because I'm the real Money in the Bank champion. I'm the best it's ever been. That case should be with me, and you know it. They all know it. It should be mine. And then Theory agrees to it because he's stupid and impetuous, and he loses the match, and Seth gets the briefcase, and that's how he cashes in, which is why he's champion, which is why when Cody comes back, they can have the match for the title. There you go. There's your thing. That's how we get from Theory ridiculously having the briefcase to Seth having the briefcase to Seth cashing in to Seth versus Cody for all the marbles at Mania. There you go.
We're going to play a game show called Beat the Booking with you.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
It's an idea.
It'd be fun for me.
We got a little backstage thing. We're like, hey, okay, so Bayley, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on with you, Bayley? Like, you think we're gonna tell you? It's got nothing to do with them. It's all about us. That's right. We're gonna leave. And as they leave, they walk past the Usos, and the Usos were like, hey, ladies, it's good to see you. And that was it. It was kind of I like having the men and women interact backstage just casually, because otherwise it feels like you have a weird segregated boys and girls hallways. So
I just want to say I'm not the only one giving you props here. Be the booker. Book it, Alex. I love it. Alex is spitting. Yeah. I love it. Beat the booking. The people want it. We're going to do it someday. Yeah. Little things like men and women can interact. I think when people said it was going to be a statement episode or whatever, I don't think they realize how much of a statement those little things are of we're just going to acknowledge that men and women might talk to each other backstage. That shouldn't be a statement, but it is a statement of things could make sense.
Yeah. The Battle of One Jam Beard says, remember, Alex, I have the power. I gave you Mox versus Jericho. Yes, you did, unfortunately. The Line Drive says, so Seth gets his former disciple Theory back. Remember that? And during the pandemic, there was Theory was his disciple for I don't know, a month and a half.
I forgot about that. That's how good it was.
That's but honestly though, If you're gonna do it, you got to
Do
call
it.
back to it. Got to call back to it. Anyway, so the backstage stuff with Bayley, I think it was just fine. Gave you a little idea that, like, okay, it's all about us. We were going to run this place. Jeremy Moreau says, first time watching a WWE weekly in a long time. I wanted to see what would happen with Bayley's stable, and I enjoyed the episode. Now, here's some money for your work. Have a good show. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
I really enjoyed this, and I love they were like, hey, let's have an Alexa Bliss versus Asuka match, because I mean, like, we're already showcasing the women. Alexa Bliss got to have a little promo last week about how she's not going away. Like, we're just I'm here. I want the title. I want to reclaim my glory as the top of the women's division. I think that's great. Asuka, you always know, is always going to be there. This is cool. It's a match between two of the top contenders outside of this little faction, or so we thought. And the match was fine for a while. I think the last time we saw Alexa versus Asuka, like, Alexa just beat her clean with the Sister Abigail going into that Royal Rumble before the WrestleMania debacle with the giant Jack in the Box and her forehead dripping black glue.
Yes. Yeah. That's right.
Like middle January going into Royal Rumble, everyone was like, Alexa's just going to, like, Hulk out and become the Fiendess and just eliminate everybody and win the Royal Rumble. Turns out she got eliminated really early and nothing really happened. But they booked her to win, to beat Asuka, like really, like, in a statement victory, and then nothing ever happened after that. But I think they work really well together. I think that Alexa, like, tries to raise her game to the level of Asuka as like an actual fighter. I think that's some really good stuff. But ultimately, it wasn't about this match. It was about as it might be the actual name of the faction. It was about control. So here comes Bayley, here comes Dakota Kai, here comes Io Sky, and they beat up Asuka and Alexa, and then Bianca runs down to run them off. And I love it. Bianca gets on mic and says, one of the three of you, I'm getting a match with you tonight. I don't care who it is. I'm beating somebody's ass. I thought that was great. And I mean, if we're going to do this whole gang warfare thing and Becky's out, Bianca's going to need somebody to have her back. And it's always great, I feel like, when the heels piss the wrong people off, and if they had just minded their own business, they wouldn't have new enemies, because heels do that kind of stuff. So to prove that they're the baddest bitches on the block, they attack Asuka and Alexa, and now they pissed off the wrong people. I thought it's good.
I thought this was really good. I had, like, a minute beforehand tweeted, wow, the return of, like, clean finishes. And then we immediately walked into DQ, but a DQ that made sense, which is really wonderful. And I like the mission statement of, we're here to run chaos all over. Like, because one thing that is tricky is these guys can't lose, right? And this will come up again in the second match, because that was also a DQ, but, like, this heel faction right now can't really lose. But you also can't have your champion lose. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. So Triple H is aware of that, it turns out.
Yep.
And so I have a little bit more forgiveness around doing two matches that ended in DQ, both women's matches. But I like this idea of, we attacked Becky because we're just here to beat people up. We don't really care who they are. We're here to be the most powerful force that's here. And that means your match, and that means you, and that means you, and that means you, is a fun, overarching kind of allegory that's unfolding through the matches in the women's division. I think it's great. I thought this was a ton of fun. The match was decent up until the DQ, and then the DQ made sense, and it also evened out the numbers game, so I appreciated all of that. And Bianca's killing it in this role, man, of the, like, we just saw Becky say, this is your division now, and the first thing Bianca does is come out and say, my division now. No, we're not doing this. And I liked it. Like, I can accept DQs when they make sense like this. And they feel like they're serving a greater purpose.
I do also admittedly have DQ fatigue, so I was kind of like, another DQ, but it made sense. So
Yeah.
kudos.
Yeah, this is the thing is that DQs, when they're just a lazy thing that you have to do because you booked a match you shouldn't have booked, those aren't good. DQs, when they move the storyline forward, like this makes sense for the DQ to happen here, those are fine. The problem is those start to suck when you do too many of the first one, where it's just DQs because we're just going to have a DQ. Then all of a sudden, the ones that actually make sense look worse because they're coupled in with everything else, and they shouldn't be. So we got Dick the Cock Johnson, who says that was hoping we'd get away from DQs, but I'm glad the ones tonight at least had a purpose. Yes,
very much so. Very much.
There
so.
you go. Here we go. Okay, we go. The Theory thing saying if they make Theory and Seth a team, it's got to be Seth screwing him over to steal the case, because Seth did say he wants to go after Roman again. Like it really is a very easy thing to do. And also, no Theory on the show tonight.
Yeah.
They didn't want to bury him again. Just let him stick around. I think there's a way to do it where like maybe he gets embarrassed again, and that's how Seth swoops in. Because that's how he swooped in before when he was the guy who led a own little cult. If you want reach rock bottom, he's the guy who says, you know what? It's cool. I'm here. I'll be your friend. I think there's a really good way of like doing that again with Theory.
You're going to make me like Theory.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Better
no,
not.
I'm not. No, I'm not. No,
I do like that booking though.
So
it makes sense.
Yeah. We get our second three-way, which is Dolph Ziggler versus Ciampa versus Gable. We get Gable gets to cut a promo. Thank you. And he gets to say
he dunks on the Astros as a Yankee fan. Happy gal.
And he dunks on the Astros for cheating, which of course turns him babyface in the eyes of everybody who's not in Houston. I don't understand. I've never understood the whole thing of okay, well, that means everybody at home thinks he's a good guy now. The people who are there might not like him, but whatever.
That's why he made the weird face after.
Yeah. This was great. These three guys can all go, as opposed to the other one where it's like, okay, let's figure out how we can get the Miz out of the way so we can have a great workers match between Styles and Mustafa Ali. These three guys can all go. There is an alternate universe where they figure out a way to do the AJ Styles and Ciampa thing without having to have them win their respective triple threats. And then the winners of those triple threats can be Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable, and then they can have a 20-minute singles match on Raw, and the world will rejoice. Of course, the entire world doesn't live in my head, because here's the problem now that we have going forward is that Triple H is going to have to retrain the main roster audience to like wrestling, because Vince has told them for years and years and years that it doesn't matter. Who cares? Why would we watch wrestling? Wrestling is stupid because DQs, countouts, all these dumb characters, nothing makes sense. So like Triple H trying to like say, okay, Houston, here's a bunch of really long, really well-paced, really awesome wrestling matches. And Houston goes, what is this? I don't know what I'm watching. And they'll figure it out, but there's going to be a learning curve for a lot of WWE audiences who don't know why they're like, I'm sorry. I just thought this guy was the bearded geek who was Miz's bodyguard. Like, I don't know who this person is. Like, oh, no. We're going to teach you tonight. We're going to put him in 2 matches. And by the end, you will know what a wrestler Tommaso Ciampa is, but they don't know that yet. So that's going to be a thing going forward, because the crowd for a lot of the night was silent, like just not at all into it, which is not surprising considering this change of everything. But also what I loved was sitting at home, I noticed that they were kind of quiet. which means they're not pumping in ridiculous crowd noise over everything anymore, which is a huge, huge positive sign.
And when they were into it, they were into it. Like you can hear the difference between authentic into it and not. So the moments that they were popping for and the matches that they did like, you could tangibly feel the difference in energy. I'm just going to pull this up from our moderator, Luis, who says, no Astro slander allowed, please and thanks. Altuve should go to Aaron Judge and hand him his MVP from that year. He's a cheater. He's full of crap. He was wearing a wire. But we're not here to talk about the fact that Altuve and his 4'8" little self should give Aaron Judge his MVP, which he'll also win again this year. We're here to talk about pro wrestling. And also shout out to Luis, because he could easily just put in our document of chats what he wanted to say. But he still paid money, and you should pay money via Super Chat or at huntforchats.com. This triple threat, I for months, years, have been wanting a Gable Ziggler rivalry for 8 months, whatever. Of all the rematches that we've endured, you could have done that every night, and I wouldn't have cared. They're two of my favorites. They're very great at this. This is a really good example of something that Sean talks about, where, and everybody, but I like the way Sean phrases it, of when predictable is good, it's good. Like, one Styles won. I knew Ciampa was going to win this. I knew anyway. But one Styles won. I was like, Ciampa's winning the other one. But the match was really damn good. It was really damn good. We also had that great promo from Ciampa, who made sense out of all this Miz stuff earlier in the night. Like, it was just really, really good about Logan Paul coming into their house and trying to get good at, which is true, really fast, that what they've been putting their whole lives into. Like, it was a really good promo. The watermelon trunks, next week. They're out of here. Nope, we're done. We're done with Ciampa and watermelon. It looks like he has a watermelon putt. We're not. No. Give me back my gritty old sailor Ciampa, please. And I also want to call this up from Orion Ben, which was so important. They acknowledged Ciampa's NXT championship reigns. They did. NXT, Triple H's NXT, means something again, which is nice. But I think it's important. It goes to the prestige of the people that are there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a really great match. You got to see all three guys do great stuff. There's some really good, like, in the other match as well, but of like, okay, you're doing this move to this guy, I'm gonna do this move to both of you, type of spots, which were really great. But Ciampa hits a knee on Dolph, which sends him to the outside. Gable comes up from behind, tries to do a backslide, but Ciampa rolls through, hits one of his knees with the unfurled knee pad, which has been his trademark when he really wants to hurt somebody. And then he hits the fairy tale ending on Chad Gable and gets the victory. Ciampa gets the victory. It's a big time deal, because Ciampa. I mean, I really think he's really a really great wrestler. He's a really great wrestler, a really great professional. He's also went by the nickname he coined for himself as the greatest sports entertainer of all time. That's what he called himself in NXT when he was trying to be a heel. But he knows how to work a crowd. I have never seen a guy get a reaction the way he did when he came out for a big takeover match with no music, and it was just boos for like 3.5 minutes. Like, you wouldn't have been able to hear his music even if he had any. Like, it was, oh man, he had that whole crowd eating of the palm of his hand. Great stuff.
Okay, Alex, now we have to talk about the most important thing in the world. You ready?
What's that?
Where's Raw next week?
Well, we're not talking about that until we talk about the Ciampa and AJ Styles match, because that's
Okay, fine. I'm just so excited.
I know. You're getting ahead of yourself. Come on, okay? You are like you and my 5.5-year-old daughter. I have to teach you both patience. Okay? No,
I'm sorry. It's just been so long since I liked Raw.
We can't go visit Nana and Papa for Christmas because it's still August. Okay?
But I wanna.
I know. I'm sure you do.
I want to talk about Johnny Gargano. The worst.
We got some baseball talk. Oh no. Orlando Orego says, great explanation of why Houston sucks tonight. Raw was good with wrestling and the fans was too quiet. It's true. The batter to one Jam Beard says the Yankees fear the Jays this year. And the line drive says, hey Kate, can you tell me the last time the Yankees came to bat with a lead against the Astros? Insert heel laugh.
Louise, can you block that person?
I don't.
Thank you.
Can
you block them?
I
Time out them?
I don't know.
Block them forever? Thank you.
So here's where I get to be sour. I get to my own
back,
self here.
Baby.
Edge has his old music again, and like a bunch of trained seals, on this day I see clearly, yay! Bunch of rubes. This man said the worst possible things about you for months. And all he does is put on a Thriller jacket and get his old music back. And you're like, yay! Ridiculous. And then he comes out and he says, so sorry about everything. He basically said, my bad. I was an asshole these last couple of months. But anyway, moving on. It's like it barely met the definition of an apology. And it certainly wasn't an explanation. Like, that man tried to murder AJ Styles so they could have a WrestleMania match together. Then all of his lighting turned purple, started wearing suits. Then he recruited Damian Priest so they could beat AJ Styles some more. Then he recruited Rhea Ripley so they could beat AJ Styles some more. Then he started taking terrible promos about the mountain of omnipotence. And then you might as well have been the mountain of impotence, because that's how terrible this faction was.
We don't have Blue Chew tonight, but keep going.
No, but keep going. and then he got mutinied against by the people he recruited, including a guy he had recruited that fucking minute. The original heel turn made no sense. The heel presentation was awful. The faction didn't work. And the mutiny that turned him babyface was so rushed it didn't feel earned at all. He went away for 2 months. He came back. Now he's got a red jacket and his old music, and we're also supposed to be like, yay! Like there's not, like, here's the thing. He says, it was the one thing I'll say what I liked about it, short and sweet. A real short and sweet promo, got to the point. He says, I brought them in and I tried to turn they I don't like them anymore. I'm going to end Judgment Day. If it requires this terrible leather daddy version of Edge to end once and for all one of the worst factions that the WWE has ever seen, I'll allow it. Because all three members currently in that faction are all individually great talents, and they will be much better off out of this faction in the long run. So I'm fine with that. Like, I love the idea. Maybe he can get them completely done, out of the way, maybe him versus Finn Balor is a match at the Clash'll. And then we're done. We're done with the Judgment Day, and they can all go their separate ways and do awesome things. We can get Hunter's version of NXT Finn Balor on the main roster finally. Maybe he gets to be a champion again. Wouldn't that be nice? Like a real champion, not a Vince main roster Finn champion, but a Hunter Finn champion. Damian Priest can go be great, and Rhea Ripley can be the one-woman wrecking crew who goes into this faction war and says, all you bitches better bow down to me, because Rhea Ripley is the one person in this whole faction that feels like she actually owns being in this faction.
And she was added the latest, which was ridiculous. The promo was not great. This falls short of what I love that Kevin Owens does. There's a long list of things I love that Kevin Owens does. Well, but whenever Kevin Owens turns face, he does this really incredible job. I don't even know how he pulls it off, but he does this really good job of like, hey, you know what? My aim's been off a little bit. Like, he's done it multiple times where when he's turned face, he's been like, my behavior, that was not my best out there, guys. That was not my best self. He gives it every time he turns face, and it always works somehow. He's great. And Edge is great too. I don't think people were cheering him as much as they were cheering like the possibility that this is all ending. I think people have always wanted to cheer for Edge, so the heel turn was so stupid in the first place. I think people are excited to go back and cheer for Edge. I don't think they were like, what a fantastic promo. I think they were no. Oh my God, let's get back to this. Yeah.
It's the music. The music has a Pavlovian response. Like here's the thing. Like I feel like on watching on TV, the moment that led to the pop of that music hitting at the Royal Rumble a few years ago and him coming out for the first time in 10 years, like that was one of the most feel good, awesome moments of being a wrestling fan of the last decade. And honestly, it pains me to say this. I feel like his return overall has been not great. He had those really good matches with Seth. I feel like it's hard to judge because right after he came back, they were doing this thing and they wanted to do a really cool angle with Randy. And the return of Randy on Edge was amazing. But then COVID happened and their match, the COVID mania sucked. Like it was really bad. It wasn't really his fault. They just wanted to do way too much with it. And then he went away for a while. Then they had the greatest wrestling match of all time as promoted by the promotion, which you just can't do, which then put a lot of people off to it. Like everything has felt kind of like not as great as it could have been. And so we had an opportunity to have one of the best face versus face, like legends versus legends WrestleMania matches of all time. And they said, no, we got to turn Edge heel to do it. And telling him heel in the worst way. And then months after the original stupid heel turn, they get him back to being a babyface again. So that whole time that he was a heel was an entire waste, even more so. That's what I hate about all of this.
Yeah, his whole return has been a victim of circumstance too. Like you said, I think between the pandemic, because that happened, I mean, that was 2-3 months later, like after he came back, and pandemic wrestling early on was not great. Like it took a while to figure out what was going on. And this promo just wasn't good. If I were looking it up on my computer, I wouldn't want anybody to know that's what I was doing because I'd be kind of like ashamed of it. And like, I just would want it to be nowhere to be found. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, you're right.
I just think that like maybe a VPN would be a helpful device in that situation. And it's probably best to use Nord.
I'm on the road right now, but I'm not missing any of my favorite shows that are region blocked or out of my area, so to speak, because I've got nordvpn.com/Fightful. Now, you can also use that code Fightful. Avoid price discrimination on flights, avoid missing your shows because they're region blocked, and get 70% off your NordVPN plan, plus 1 additional month for free. It's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. NordVPN.com/Fightful has made things so much easier for me as I get back into traveling and start to remember that certain things aren't available to watch when I travel or even when I'm home because they're region blocked. I'm able to find pay-per-views that are much cheaper thanks to NordVPN.com/Fightful. It's an investment in yourself, and how can you pass up that deal? 70% off plus 1 additional month free. NordVPN.com/Fightful, or use that code Fightful.
That's what's up, guys. And with all the money you're saving, you can go subscribe to Fightful Select, where Sean, unfortunately, is more details about Becky Lynch's news. We never put injury news behind the paywall, but some details behind that. He's going to try and track down the Sasha and Naomi stuff. It's available to confirm. I promise you that much. But all sorts of scoops that have been coming out of Nashville all week. So $5 a month is all it is to subscribe. We the numbers go up and down at the beginning of the month, but we hit 8,000 last month. Like 1,000 fall off. It's brutal, but we still have an outstanding number of supporters. We appreciate all of you who always go back and resubscribe to get us back to where we were at, and just an incredible kind of like landmark for us as a company, and a testament to all of Sean's hard work, of course. So there's going to be more coming up. My goodness, I think the Triple H era is officially upon us. So keep an eye out for the scoop skis over there, and you can also catch Alex behind the paywall. And let's be honest, usually me. Oftentimes on Mondays, when we are not on the main channel, always Alex does Sour Graps, which is getting less sour by the day, I gotta tell you. And Fridays, too, after SmackDown. We'll see what's to become of our little shows, but those are for Fightful Select subscribers only. And if you like the two of us, if you think we're neat, if you're having fun hanging out, we also review pretty much every pay-per-view at this point. If it's not on the main channel with the two of us, we're also behind the paywall reviewing those. So thank you guys for all of the support, and subscribe at Fightful Select to hang out with us two specifically even more often. Yeah. We get weird behind the paywall too. This is on the tracks for us.
This is tame. I am La Lucha says, did we really expect a Houston crowd to be good?
No, I expect nothing of Houston to be good because their baseball team of who represents them is trash.
Yeah. So we got our Bianca Belair versus Io Sky match. Of course, Io Sky, former Io Shirai. They mentioned that she was a former NXT Women's Champion. So all things NXT are now canon, which is like all I've ever been asked for. I've been asking for. It's great. Now, this match was long, and some really great stuff. Of course, we get it's just Io out there. She's got her music, which is great. Yes. They haven't screwed that up yet. Her presentation with the main roster lights looks really great.
Good. Mm-hmm.
And the match between her and Bianca is slapping. It's slapping. It's banging. And then we get the other women out there to serve some mean looks over at Bianca, and then because it's starting to look a little dicey for Bianca, we get Alexa and Asuka coming out because they now have beef with the Bayley buddies, with the Bayley bunch, and so now it's a lot of like, okay, how are we gonna get all this working? Because in the midst of all this, Bianca and Io are having a great match, and then it becomes like this thing of like, who's going to help their girl win, kind of a thing, and eventually it comes down to, I wanted to say there was one thing in this match that I had never seen before, was a release superplex. Where Bianca did a superplex and just stayed seated on the top rope, flung Io
that
3/4 of the way across the ring. I'd never seen anything like that before.
She's so special, man. She's like,
that was crazy.
She's so unrepeatable, Bianca. Like she just does stuff that other women can't do, and she looks damn good doing it. God bless her.
I thought this was really great. And then we get all four of the other women in the ring, and they look at each other and just start swinging and just start going after each other, just beating tar out of each other. And the ref is like, well, none of you have touched the people who are actually legal in the match, but I don't know how I'm going to get this under control. So ding-a-ding-a-ding.
That's a bad DQ.
That's a bad
DQ. I don't have a problem going to that well.
It's a bad DQ, but I guess I understand. Like, I would like him to like try to get control, but if he can't, then I understand him doing it. Like if he's trying to pull Bayley and Asuka apart, and Bayley like reaches back and clocks him in the head, then he can ring the bell or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you got to at least give it a try. He felt like, well, there's no way I'll be able to control these four women. Ding a ding a ding. Like I think you can. I don't like him skipping the middle part, but we all know what the end was going to be. Then there's a huge, massive brawl. And this is where we get somebody who says, all right, now we got to say it. Somebody says, Orion Ben says, come on, Regal, say it. Say it. War Games. If there's ever going to be a War Games, this is the way to do it. I love this whole thing here. There's a full brawl. Everyone, gets in their shots. It winds up with Bianca in the middle, flanked by Asuka and Alexa, and the heels down at the bottom of the ramp, and there's a face off. And this is where I said to myself, you don't even need Roman Reigns. The big tribal jog chief doesn't even need to show up. You build.
Makes me laugh.
That's what he is.
Big tribal dog chief.
You don't even need him to show up. You build the entire Raw show around this women's faction war, because all women in here, you got plenty of time to do that. You build the stories around all of that. Okay. You can do stories of each team trying to recruit others to their cause, stuff like that. You can figure out a way of making fun stuff out of all of this. Then you make the U.S. title the fighting man's championship. And 1 week you have something that determines the number one contender. The following week, the champion faces that guy, and then you repeat it over and over again. 2 TV title matches with a 30-minute time limit every week at the top of the second hour. And you're going to tune in and see a match, like a real honest to God match at the top of the second hour of Raw every week. And because it's always defended against top tier talent, you can hot potato that thing around and have guys have like a month reign, a 6-week reign here. Oh, they won it 1 week and then they lost it 2 weeks later. But it's always the top of the mid card of the U.S. title is always being defended. And you can make it around that kind of a in-ring work there, while the main story that revolves around everything else is the women's. And then whenever Roman decides to show up, deigns to show us his existence, okay, now we can actually do some other stuff. But especially through the fall, you don't need anything else. You can just do this.
Well, first of all, if you think Alex should be booking somewhere, put a bunch of fire emojis in the chat. Second of all, yes, people in the chat, no contest, not a DQ. Got it. A non-finish.
Right.
I don't love 2 non-finishes for 2 matches, 2 women's matches on the show. However, again, goes back to Bianca is champion and shouldn't lose, which this was when I tweeted at you, I think, about Corey Graves. I was like, do you find Corey Graves less annoying tonight, or am I just so bewildered that Raw is good? And you were like, mostly the latter. And I said, that's fair. But he did say, he essentially had said in commentary worlds, champions probably shouldn't be losing on TV. He did clarify that, which I really, really liked.
Said that.
Yeah. It was that he was less I'm the hard heel announcer today. I felt like it was a little.
Then you weren't listening to him during the Miz match, the Ciampa match, the second Ciampa match. Anytime there was somebody he was on in favor of, it just becomes too much. The things that he says about the Miz, nobody could possibly believe. Bobby Heenan had his favorites, but mostly what he would do is tear down the good guy, as opposed to being this guy's the greatest ever. Which is what Corey Graves does with the Miz, which nobody could possibly believe. And one of the reasons that the Miz is the greatest ever is because he has a reality show. That can't be the reason why he's one of the greatest ever. So I think Corey is good in fits and starts. Maybe if he gets back to being something akin to what he was in NXT, that's fine. But he's been the sounding board for Vince bullshit for so long. I think he just started saying it automatically, and that's what we get. So,
no, that makes sense. I felt like it was, I still noticed all those things were there. I just felt like it was less emphatic. It didn't feel like he was yelling as much, but I also might've been distracted by the fact that we actually had good wrestling on television tonight.
Could have been.
So, But this was fine. I'm just always very glad to see Io Shirai wrestling in a wrestling ring. Good for her on the main roster. Her moonsault is still awesome. Like she's an unreal wrestler. The story continues to roll down the hill. I think it's super fun. Bianca facing Io is something that was really fun because it was just obviously a matchup we haven't really seen. Certainly not in. Did they cross paths in NXT? They did, right?
I think as Bianca was on her way out, Io was on her way up, so I'm not really sure how many matches they had against each other.
Yeah, that kind of got timing wise a little funky, and honestly, I feel like Bianca has grown so much from the NXT version of herself that it would have kind of felt different anyway. But I love this. I love Io being the first one out the gate to face Bianca, especially because I don't know what to expect from Dakota Kai because she's stretched herself in so many different ways and from a character perspective. Like she was literally hearing voices at one point in her head, and other times she's just been, an ass kicker or whatever. Like there's so many directions that they can go with her. It'll be fun to see that get revealed, but this was just fun. Didn't love the finish. I understand why it happened though, so I always have more forgiveness than that. But I feel like there was probably a way you could have, had a DQ or something.
Yeah, I agreed. We got some chants here about Corey Graves. The Line Drive says, only complaint I have about tonight is Corey Graves was on an island on commentary. Jimmy and Byron were mute for most of the show. It would hurt the show. Get Morrow. Yeah, Morrow coming back and being the lead guy would be my I would love me some of that because that guy was it for me.
Without Vince in his ear, yes. Without Vince in his ear,
there
yes.
You go.
But Ian Riccaboni's the best announcer in the world.
Right, but I think we all want him to actually stay where he is. I mean, I think they should actually give him the,
I do, but I want that man
give him the offer. They give him the offer, but yeah.
Hey, Ian Riccaboni, how about that?
The Battered to One Jam Beard says Graves at time is just as bad as when Cole was heel and was Miz's best friend. We no longer need heel commentators. Yeah, I would just like guys to actually just, call the action in front of them. It's a crazy idea, I know.
Sure. Or I can take a slant, but the spoon feeding is different. And tough.
I actually think the way that AEW does it, where the heel on commentary is a guy who has a stake in the match because he is also another wrestler related to what's going on in the match.
Yeah,
as opposed to having a guy they pay to be an objective relator of truth, just be wild in his crazy opinions. You know what I mean? It seems kind of dumb for the promotion. Anyway, Trey Jones says, give me Morrow and Ian now.
Ian's just the best.
Yeah. And Mike Lima with an interesting idea. Mike says, what I propose is calling the previous regime Vinceism. Just like how Inokiism degraded NJPW and the wrestling product badly. There you go. Vinceism.
Guys, if you could leave a thumbs up, that would be really, really cool.
Yes. So the Battle of One Jam Beard says, give me Io versus Asuka, please, Lord. Oh, you're definitely getting that match. Yeah, this is what I'm saying about with these factions. You get to have awesome different combinations of things, different combinations of tags, of singles matches. We're going to get an Alexa versus Dakota Kai match that is going to fucking rip. It's going to be great. And you're not going to realize it's going to be great until it's happening. But they both are very, very good. But Asuka versus Io is a major match to do. Dorian E says it's no coincidence that Io and Asuka didn't touch. They might be saving that for something. Absolutely. Nurgu says Io hands down is a top 10 theme in wrestling today. Also, she's so good. Her presentation rules. I think Alexa and Asuka was just filler, and Sasha and Naomi are Bianca's backup.
I think you have to send them to SmackDown, or this gets very lopsided.
Yeah, I think SmackDown needs some other people on it.
I'll say this though: if they come back as tag champions, they should absolutely be floating between at least two brands, maybe all three.
Yeah. Lorenzo Torres says it was a good show. So glad the women shined tonight. They certainly did. They did. Shaka 29 says enjoyed the show, but still got work to do. Didn't like DQs in both women's matches. Weird video package placement and pacing. And my God, Kevin Dunn needs to go. Yeah, let's talk about that. He just can't. It's so annoying where you're getting into something and then you're like, oh, there was a lot of camera cuts just then. Why is that happening? You know,
well, now he's preventing me from watching matches I want to see, which makes it even worse. I actually want to see what they're putting on now.
And in actuality, there's a lot of times where people would talk about, I would see on the timeline, oh my God, there was so many camera cuts, and I realized I wasn't watching. Sometimes as bad as SmackDown and Raw had gotten in recent months, I wasn't even watching. I had my head in my phone. I was listening so that if something happened, a big reaction to something happened, I could look up, rewind 15 seconds and watch it and go like, all right. And I go back to whatever I was doing, but I don't actually watch. I didn't actually see most of the matches. So the crazy shaky cam and all the cuts, I don't even watch.
Well, and the other thing was you were getting all those terrible camera cuts while it was matches that you had seen the week before and the week before that and the week before that and the week before that, right? So like how many different ways can you make me uninterested in your product?
Yeah, TG says the ladies were great. Love seeing them get time. They're going to get a lot of time. They're building up this faction thing on purpose in a real way. RJ26 has an interesting idea. Becky returns around Halloween. Bayley recruits Tegan to come back. War Games.
War Games.
Wouldn't hate it. Wouldn't hate it if Survivor Series wasn't like brand supremacy, but was rather people who hate each other have a big elimination tag match, which is what Survivor Series always was, and when it was way better.
Yes.
There's no reason to do brand supremacy anymore. You can do title versus title, but I think those big multi-person matches should be for a grudge of some kind, as opposed to you happen to wear a different color shirt than I do. You know,
see, I want to beat you up right now though for wearing that purple shirt. So
it's true. Mine is a different color than yours.
It's true.
So therefore,
we shall fight.
Yeah. So we get Ciampa versus AJ Styles. This sucker humped.
Yeah, it did.
So hard. It was everything I wanted from after on Saturday where we saw AJ Styles chasing Ciampa into the crowd. I was like, ooh, we're gonna get a Ciampa versus AJ Styles match, and I bet Hunter lets it be good. And it was very, very good. A lot of really brutal strikes. Ciampa like countering the first Styles clash in a way I'd never seen before, where like he got his arms underneath behind, AJ's legs, the way it starts, but then he just like wrapped his arms around it. So there's no way AJ could go anywhere with it. That was a really cool way of doing it. I thought that was excellent. Ciampa is doing this new thing I don't think I've ever seen him do before, which is like a leapfrog famouser. Like from behind, he leaps over the guy and does it. I hadn't seen him do that before. I think it's really cool. It helps his arsenal a lot. I think it's great. Miz gets involved, puts Ciampa's leg on the rope after a Styles clash. Then AJ gets pissed about Miz doing that. They fight on the outside. Ciampa make sure that Miz and AJ go topple over into the timekeeper's area, and then we get a replica of the thing I hated from AEW last week, which is the heel's buddy grabs a hold of the babyface's leg and won't let him get back in the ring until right before the thing happens. And then that guy walks into a couple of big moves and loses. Now, here I'll tell you why it was good as opposed to why it was bad last time. The reason why it was good here is because I had never seen Miz is entirely hidden by like the timekeeper's barricade. There's no way the ref can see him. The camera placement to show you where the Miz was while he was doing it was great. AJ trying to shake him off was excellent. and then AJ getting into Ciampa. Ciampa should be beating AJ Styles to get this moment, but it's also part of what he's been doing with The Miz the whole time is cheating over and over again. The Miz also, crucially, was out there from the beginning, always getting involved. He wasn't like sitting behind the barricade the whole time waiting for an opportunity to reach up and grab AJ's leg. I think there are crucial differences that make it actually better here than it was before. Also, I'm used to that kind of bullshit happening in WWE.
Correct.
So I kind of give it more of a pass, but I also give it a pass because of the fact that Ciampa wins the match, which is a huge step for Ciampa. And after you talk about this match, then we will talk about what this possibly means for next week.
Match is great. Let's talk about next week. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just so excited for the possibilities. But this match really was great. I actually thought The Miz was really good in his role in this. It looked way less telegraphed and way more natural than a lot of the, hey, I'm interfering with you spots that we get. Yeah. I thought he actually did really good with this. This wasn't the main event of a show that included a Bryan Danielson return and the making of a new star. So yeah, I also like it better here. And to your point, it fits in perfectly with the ongoing context. And not that we didn't have two feuding stables in AEW, but like that could have just been one of the best technical matches that we've ever seen. Like that didn't need that to be muddied up. So to your point, it fits the environment better. I didn't hate
I know.
As much as you did. I didn't like it. And I also just don't like Jake Hager, to be honest. So that was part of it. But yeah, I thought this was good. I just can't believe that we're now talking about Ciampa versus Bobby Lashley days after. Like in SummerSlam, he was the Mrs. Lackey. He walked out of SummerSlam with a potential story, and now he has a title shot for the U.S. title. And they did a whole video package around the U.S. title about why it's important. Whether you agree with the reasons they gave or not, I think it was cool that they did it. They showed the lineage. They showed the lineage going back to WCW, which was interesting. Nodding other promotions is not something WWE's been known for, so that was neat. But I thought the match was really, really good. Ciampa pulling out that move out of his arsenal was interesting because it also doesn't necessarily feel like it fits him as a wrestler in a way. That doesn't feel like a typical Ciampa move, which I thought actually made it interesting because it was still well executed. So this was a ton of fun. I had high expectations for AJ Styles and Ciampa versus each other, but this was great. And I think Ciampa versus Bobby Lashley is one of those, I didn't know I needed this, but now it's set and now I need it. And oh my God, they're going to be in Cleveland, which is Johnny Gargano's hometown.
Yeah. So, way to scoop me. So yes, next week is in Cleveland. So you get Ciampa versus Lashley for the U.S. title in Cleveland. I mean, not that I want to see them run it back on the main roster specifically.
I do.
I feel like that story was told, and what I'd really love to have gotten was an honest to God second DIY run, because I think that those two guys are magic together. And look, there happens to be a set of tag team titles, two of them, by the way, being held by one tag team for way too long, and they need a very awesome team to beat them.
We could still get that. We could get that and Lashley retain.
Yes, but the thing of it is I guess what we would need is one of two things. If they want to do Gargano versus Ciampa, then Ciampa wins, beats Lashley somehow with the help of The Miz and maybe Theory.
Open challenge.
And then immediately after that in Cleveland, we get Rebel Heart. We get Johnny Gargano's theme playing. Johnny Gargano comes out, and then we start up this feud that runs through the fall. More and more of Ciampa versus Gargano. Miz is involved, hopefully not as much. Or Ciampa loses, and Miz, because he can't be friends with anybody, beats up Ciampa, tries to beat him down or whatever. Theory helps. I don't know, whatever goes on. And then we get Gargano saving Ciampa, and Ciampa turns babyface because Johnny Gargano is the power of the babyface and infuses him with babyfaceness. I don't think I love either of those things. But I love Johnny Gargano showing up on Raw in Cleveland next week. Jesus. DIY to take down the Usos, as the Nerd Guru says, is amazing. They're so good together. It's probably the best way to introduce a guy like Johnny Gargano to the main roster is in that version of him, as opposed to, because they're like, what? That he look at him, he's so little. I don't like, but as part of a tag team, it might work. But I think that Johnny Gargano, Hunter's Johnny Gargano on the main roster could be the best pure underdog baby face that they've had since Daniel Bryan in 2014.
Agreed. I think a tag picture is a good way to go too, because I don't think him dethroning Roman is probably the way to go, or the way they would want to go. But it's just so interesting, like all these possibilities now. But I think DIY reuniting would be a really fun way for both of them to get reintegrated. And then versus the Usos as like a era versus era kind of thing. Like, I don't even think there's that much of an age disparity, but there's definitely a difference in the eras that they were brought in. So that could just be something that's so fun of. And if they're acknowledging NXT again, it could kind of be like, hey, we were the strongholds of this promotion versus you guys. That just sounds like a blast to me. So
yes, agreed. So here we go. Nerd Guru says, if Trips is going to do anything, we know he's going to take care of Ciampa, and he did. 2 big wins tonight, so awesome. And next week, Raw is Cleveland. And I hear they like to be yourself. They like to not be no one else. Rebel Hearts.
This Rebel Raw.
The Batted One Jam Beard says, as fun as Gargano coming back could be, Raw does not need him. Put him and Candice on SmackDown. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, perhaps.
But Ciampa's on Raw, and they have to be together at all times. In my head.
It's just Raw's in Cleveland. Like, I don't know how else to say this. It's too perfect. Raw's in Cleveland. He's from Cleveland.
I also don't know what the roster split stuff looks like anymore. Like, there might be some major changes coming down the pike.
The brand split is a myth. Like, they could just put somebody on SmackDown or on Raw that's been on. Nobody cares.
It's true.
Honestly. So. The prospect of Gargano in Cleveland manifested the porn bots.
Well, it's a sexy idea.
It is. It's very sexy.
It's hot.
Also, let's not lose sight of the fact that Ciampa versus Bobby Lashley is going to be really, really good.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Ciampa is not the usual little guy that Lashley is used to throwing around all over the place.
Or medium guy, even. Lashley's a big dude.
Because Lashley's they say he's 201 pounds. No, Lashley, Ciampa. So it'll be interesting to see, because there's always the eye test of, like, you get one of these little indie guys in the ring with one of Vince's dudes, that kind of body type, and you have to see, like, does it make sense? And I've never actually subscribed to that, but a lot of people still do. And
if Bryan Danielson didn't ruin that for you, I don't know who's gonna. But there are still people that think that way.
They still do. Okay, here we go. At this point, the line drive says Raw doesn't need Johnny, but Raw has all of Johnny's story threads from The Way, DIY, etc.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That is true. The only other guy, the only thing I could think of is, if you're not going to do babyface Chad Gable being the guy to feud with Gunther for the IC title.
Oh my God. Gargano versus Gable.
Then Gargano versus Gunther is an amazing David and Goliath story that you could tell.
You could even do DIY versus him and Ludwig.
Yeah, you could. Hey, didn't they have a third guy there? Wasn't that a thing at some point? What's he doing now? Is he doing anything?
Giovanni Vinci.
Giovanni Vinci. It's a me, Giovanni. So we got the Mysterios versus the Usos, and I said all that had to happen for the night to go down as a classic, like one of the best Raws of the decade, was for them to not do the dumb thing and put the titles on the Mysterios. Just please don't do the thing like, hey, it's a shock value. Put it on all of this story of the Street Profits. Can they get there? Can they possibly beat them? The answer was no, because Jeff Jarrett. And now we're just gonna hot shot the Mysterios into the title picture and have them win because shock value. Please don't do it. Thank God they didn't. So that's all I'll say.
Also, this is our main event, so get in your super chats and your humper chats because we're coming down the home stretch, and smash that like button because we actually got to like Raw today, up through and including the main event. I do not care about Dominic Mysterio. I do care that he doesn't win the tag team titles from the Usos. They did not. My hope of all hopes was Naomi shows up and joins the Bloodline, right? Like, that would have been insane. It would have been weird to do that at 11 o'clock at night, but that would have been the main event.
Yeah.
But like with the way that they were hinting about SummerSlam being in the rear view and this being a statement episode, I was like, are they going to do that? So it'd be really cool. Also thought this might have led to a heel turn of Dom on Ray. That didn't happen either. But the match itself was good enough. I don't understand Rey Mysterio. Like, as a person, I don't understand how his body is physically able to do things that he does.
Stem cells in the knees do wonders for a man his age.
Evidently, because he can still move.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was fine. And then what happened after, which we can get into now.
Talk about. Lorenzo Torres says, Alex, your tweets about Dom are amazing. I will say this: Dom had his best showing I think I've ever seen from him, and it was still not great, but it was his best one I've ever seen from him. Still not great. He does a very formulaic hot tag. It's the same stuff. He still looks painfully awkward trying to do a 619, which is tough because that's your family's signature maneuver. Yes. So NCB says Kevin Dunn did at least 10 camera cuts was Jimmy was about to superplex Dom. WTF. That was a very, very odd thing.
Very odd. This was probably Dom's best performance, and even like that crossbody to the outside was not good. like it's rough.
Yeah.
But
Nerd Guru says what should have happened on this show is the Usos should have jumped Dom before the match, and then Ray goes it along, but then Legado del Fantasma comes out to help him. That would have been epic. Like Santos tweeted out a little thing of himself getting into gear tonight, and that was it. Just a really quick little video, and I was like, man, if Santos shows up tonight on Hunter is Raw. Like I don't even know.
Nah, put him on SmackDown and have the rest of them come up and have a feud with the Bloodline.
Yeah, it would be nice. We'll have to see what they have planned for SmackDown for realties now. Jordan Cooper says EO given a showcase in a long match, Ciampa going over twice in one night, Dom getting totally murked by everyone at the end. Did Alex book this show?
Felt that way at points.
Felt
that. Ooh.
Jake Allison says AEW Mark here, first full Raw ever. May check back when Cody is back. I don't know. Why is Dom so mid? Why do people have multiple segments? Hard to watch. You think this was hard to watch? You should have seen it the past, 3 years.
Yes. I think 3 hours of wrestling is a very hard task in general. Beyond that, this was probably the best Raw in 3 years. So if you didn't like this, stick with your 2 hours of AEW.
Yeah, it has the potential to be something really, really great, like a nice blend of the overall production value and the feel of the main roster coupled with the work and the characters of, and the just straight up logic of top tier NXT.
That's it. Just the logic alone. And to answer your question about Dom being mid, it's because he is what we affectionately call a shamrock shake, because he's still pretty green at this and also so vanilla to watch. Ergo, a shamrock shake.
Yeah. He is a shamrock shake because he is both green and vanilla. The Batted to One Jam Beard says, Buff Rhea in her new gear reminds me of China. So here comes after the match, Dominic lost to a 1D. He tried to go it alone because Ray got something happened to Ray. Ray was on the outside, couldn't save his son. So Dominic lost because he's not good enough to recognize a blind tag, because there's the inexperience of Dominic. I like that in storyline he's an idiot. I like that, like, according to canon, he's a moron who doesn't know what he's doing. I like that. That's a good thing. But anyway, he lost, and then immediately afterwards, we get Judgment Day, because this feud with the Mysterios apparently has to keep going. And so they're beating up Dominic, beating up Ray, and then Edge's music hits. Edge comes down to clear the ring. But before he's able to come down and help them, Rhea has just decided she's going to take it upon herself to make Dominic a man. She like wraps her thighs around his face and is just squeezing for all she's worth. Like, it was just crazy. I saw a whole bunch of stuff of that picture of her doing that to him, and somebody did the whole thing of like, why is everyone so shameless? Like people are using the Dolph Ziggler clip. It should have been me. It should have been me. All this kind of stuff. I want that to be me. All that kind of stuff.
It's Bud Matthews, guys. So be happy for him. He had a long trajectory to get here.
TG says, as long as Rhea beats up Dom, she's a face to me. And then, of course, Edge comes in, runs off people, is about to hit a spear on Finn, but then Rhea somehow, standing on the outside, shoves Dominic, who knocks Finn out of the way, so Dominic gets speared by Edge. And I couldn't help myself, even though I think Leather Daddy Edge sucks. I was sitting there when he speared Dominic like this. I was all the rubes reacting to his music, but I was reacting to Dominic speared in half by Edge. I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
I pop for when you call everybody that just goes along with Edge rubes. That's something that makes me pop. I didn't love this, but at the same time, from a wrestling standpoint, I get it. I don't need this feud to continue, certainly, but I'm like, oh yeah, you sent your first crowd home extremely happy. Like, Edge's music hit, everyone went nuts. You closed the show with a face Edge. I get it. It's not like my favorite thing on the show, but I understand why it went the way that it did. And Rhea is great. I can't wait for her and Bianca to feud.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so good when they get there.
Let's get her clear of whatever the hell this is. Yes. And let her get involved in some real women's matches, because they're never actually gonna let her beat the hell out of a dude in an actual match, which is
unfortunate.
I still say there was an opportunity still to do this now. You can even do it right now. Of Sami Zayn doing an Andy Kaufman, I'll fight any woman here type of thing, because he'd be the perfect guy to do it. And the woman who accepts the challenge is Rhea Ripley, who beats the stuffing out of Sami Zayn because he'd sell so hard for her. It would be really, really great.
It would rule. They'll never do it.
No. The Line Drive says Dom's safe word is Poppy. The Battle of One Jams says, who was a more rubbish stable? Retribution or early 2000s Underworld Leather Judgment Day? Retribution was an absolute failure, but it was meant to be a failure from the beginning. They wanted it. They wanted you to think it was trash. They believed that at least at one point they did. They believed that you would be like, wow, the Judgment Day. They're so cool. Look how cool they are.
No.
No.
But Retribution also failed both Mercedes Martinez and Mia Yim so horribly. So
Yeah,
it's a toss-up.
Yeah, that's bad. So here we go. I'm just trying to do something, says. Is it me or is Bayley's faction what the Riot Squad was supposed to be?
Jury is still out. Jersey is still out.
Yeah, I think that I love Ruby Riot, Ruby Zoho. I think the cachet of Bayley as the leader in the more not the casual fan, but the more casual fan immediately elevates the faction because they go, I know her. I know she's a big deal. And the fact that she is in control of this faction means I should take it more seriously, as opposed to, hi, I just got here. I'm Ruby Riot. I have a faction of people that look like they don't belong hanging out with me. Like, that didn't actually work. Yeah.
I don't think also, like, Sarah Logan and Liv just didn't do a whole heck of a lot, like, ring-wise, and I think we're going to see Io and Dakota do a lot ring-wise, and you'll never top the context that was in. You're never going to top them coming out at SummerSlam. The first thing that Hunter really gets to do is create that. That's just going to be... there's never going to be anything cooler than that. Come on, how awesome.
Rhea has tweeted out a photo, retweeted a photo of someone her having Dom in that position, and she is screaming, apparently, "Who's your poppy, Dom?" And he replies, "You are." So there you go. It's
good for him. Good for
wholesome.
him.
It's wholesome in this doctored photo. And then there's another one of her squeezing extra hard, and he says, "Papa Rhea, please." Poppy Rhea, please. Okay, so we got some more of these things. Battle to One Jam Beer says, please go look at Rhea's tweet about being Dom's Poppy tonight. LMFAO.
That is literally what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
EST1 says fans were so quiet because they saw on their phones that the Astros never led in their loss to the lowly Red Sox. Go Yanks for 70 Ws.
That's exactly what it was. That is a factually correct super chat.
Bid Moon says felt nice to have a good Raw. Kate number 1.
Well, thank you. Kate is the best. Kate number 1.
Yeah, Kate is the best. Kate number 1. Ollie Dan says, I haven't watched Raw in years, but decided to do so since the HHH is in charge. Loved seeing the women as a focal point. Montez is a star, prestige on the U.S. title, and the show ended with a tag match. Wasn't perfect, but I was happy I decided to watch. There you go.
That's it. Just don't make me feel like I wasted 3 hours of my life. That's all I ask.
Emily Duda says the Houston crowd didn't deserve this show. Triple H killed it. Also, petition to permanently replace Graves with Booker T. Booker T did the commentary for the main event, wasn't it?
US contender.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I'm not really partial to Booker T on commentary. He does a lot of burying of people.
Ian Riccaboni.
Yeah. I'm just trying to do something. Says one more thing. Imagine being Bayley and to hear that thing Vince shot down and is being picked up by Hunter after he takes over creative. Yeah, Vince was like, what? Bayley and who? Nah, we're not going to do that, kid. No thanks, pal. As a matter of fact, let's release one of them. And then Hunter was like, actually, that thing we pitched 6 months ago, let's do that. There you go. Yep. All you have to do is just not reject the good ideas and let the bad ones slide. That's all you got to do. Jesse Ozog says, I did this one already, but keep in my about my Triple H and WWE. I'd like bright metal on a sullen ground. My reformation, glittering o'er my fault, shall show more goodly and attract more eyes than that which hath no foil to set it off. Jesse Ozog, of course, for those of you who are unaware, is our Shakespeare scholar in the chat.
Like for reals.
Yeah, no, for serious. Joel Wood says Triple H did a lot of the things on Raw that made NXT so special from 2014 to 2018. Matches getting time, highlighting the women, telling simple but effective stories, and letting people talk normal.
That
Who
was
would
a
have
big
thunk it?
difference.
Who would have thunk it? People
Seth's
being able
promo,
to talk normal.
I was like, oh my God, he's goading the crowd and walking around. Like the stand still and wait for the cute and crowd reaction stuff was awful, man.
Yeah.
Little things.
So we get a Joey Bag of Donuts says, I think it's obvious why Raw was so good tonight. Denise was bringing the whole show down.
We're not here to slander Denise. We're not here to slander
Not
Denise.
during her honeymoon.
My God.
Not during her honeymoon.
I'm doing my best Denise impression right now.
Mm-hmm.
With my veil.
Joel Wood says, so the biggest question here is simple. If Triple H turns Raw and SmackDown around, what will Alex change the name of his show to? The Sweet Sheet. The Sweet Sheet. There you go.
What if it's somewhere in between? I think it should be called like the Tart Heart.
Okay. IBN 1989 says, just my opinion, but nothing about this Raw seemed like a statement Raw. I changed the channel halfway through. Like you're more than welcome to have your opinion about it, and that's fine. If you don't like it, that's okay. There are a lot of people somehow who loved Vince's version of WWE, loved it, paid lots of money to attend shows and do all this kind of stuff. I personally think it could have been a lot better, and it's been in the way of focusing more on the women, giving the matches time, letting the matches when you have them actually have finishes, and let the wrestlers wrestle each other. Let wrestlers be called wrestlers. I don't know. I'm just trying to do something. Says interesting question. Who should Logan Paul feud with next? I don't know. Goldberg? I don't know. Like,
honestly,
don't waste anybody good's time.
That's Brock Lesnar. It should be Brock.
Should be Brock.
What are you going to rehire John Morrison?
Brock murdering Logan Paul would be something I would watch. Hamancito Gomez said, didn't Ciampa beat The Miz at that NXT SmackDown? He did. He kicked The Miz's ass. He murdered The Miz.
Double S.
Apex Calibre says, who from AEW comes back? FTR, Moxley, Wyatt? Wyatt. I think he would never have considered it before. He might now, depending on the level of creative freedom they give him. They're not going to completely tear apart this thing that he built himself over years.
His relationship with Vince was contentious, like specifically Vince. I think he's the guy. I think Braun Strowman, FTR, I don't think comes back because if they're happy with their pay at all, because why would you? Like, what they're doing now is the best tag work ever in history of tag team wrestling, or at least some of it. Moxley, I think, is just gonna run till the wheels fall off doing whatever he's doing right now. Like, his favorite stuff is fighting all of Japan. So I don't think he comes back. Maybe for like a short like Shield reunion thing at some point, but I do think the door is way more open now. I think you might see people that got raised in AEW at least entertaining options from WWE.
Right. Dave Philly says, even though he didn't win it, it was nice to see Chad Gable get more time in the ring to show everyone just how good he is. That is very, very true.
So damn good.
Meet Normus says Raw was okay, but I'd rather watch Rhea Rhea whoop Dom's ass for 3 hours. Where's the Fiend and Sasha and Naomi? Kate, bangs or 5-star? Alex, great shirt. Oh, and Linda, cut the shit.
I was hoping for 7-star bangs, to be honest. Sasha and Naomi got to come back to SmackDown, man. Like, it's so loaded on Raw right now.
Yeah, it really is. You got to have somebody on SmackDown. It's the Fox show. It's on network TV. You got to do something. Bylar Lasagna says, outside of the U.S. title stuff, this still smelled like Raw per usual. Excited about the new additions, but the women's segment both ending in non-finishes, with the fancy new heel stable looking like chumps at the end, really rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, one of the two's got to stand in the ring, and the other faction stands below. They weren't. I would say they look like chumps, but it's the tease of further brawls and more matches down the line that really gets me excited.
I agree with that. I understand what you're saying, but I was so excited. Just little stuff like men and women interacting backstage and Mustafa Ali being on my TV. Like, I was very encouraged by what we saw tonight. Now, I'll say I thought it was a strong episode of wrestling. It feels like a miracle because of what we've been getting for the past 3 years. Like, this is definitely has a magnifying glass on it because of that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we do something here normally on Tuesdays that is weird for those of you who don't normally watch us, which is at least half of you.
Okay, here's the thing. I'll explain it really quick, really fast. NXT has been insufferable, and we have to do a post show about it every Tuesday. So to make it fun, we have developed a cast of characters, some of whom are wrestlers, some of who are women in their either 50s or their 200s. We're not really sure, but it doesn't make sense out of context. But when you have to watch and review NXT 2.0, we're just trying to make it entertaining for people. So now we have this weird jukebox segment of our post show, which shall now commence.
The Battle to One Jam Beard says, do we get a Monday night sing-along? Yes. And also, are we going to get more killer Segway Kate tonight? Yes, we got that. So the first one that we did was from the NCB, who requested Biological Didn't Bother by Shaquille O'Neal, as rapped by Finn Balor, who, as we all know, his biggest insult is, "You're a bad father." Okay, here we go. Because he holds the microphone like this. Biological father left me in the cold when a few months old. As a father's child was greater than gold, but I guess not. You brought me into the world, but you're not my dad. Mess around with those drugs make my moms mad. So we left you with no remorse or pity. Took the first bus from York to Jersey City. Women and child alone. Now that's pressure. Mom's got to go work. Drop me off by a base of mama. Aunt Dee Dee, whoever, Aunt Falma, Uncle Roy, we stuck together. A year went by and I could walk, y'all. In short, you're a bad father. Anyway, it's not my best. Not my best. So now we want William Regal singing "What" by Captain Sensible. When I woke up this morning, I was feeling fine. But this cat starts banging, man. What a swine. So I called reception, but to no avail. That's why I'm telling you this sorry tale. It went bang, bang. I said, shut up. It went bang, bang. I said, wrap up. Well, I'm aware that this guy must do his work, but the pile driver man drove me berserk. He said, Captain. I said, what? He said, Captain. I said, what? He said, Captain. I said, what? He said, Captain. He said, what do you want? War games. I'm really sorry to people who don't know what the hell this is, but we got all this.
It's what we do.
We got super chats. I have to do the thing. Tony D'Angelo from NXT 2.0 singing Mambo Italiano by Dean Martin, as requested by Jake Salazar. Hey, Mambo, Mambo Italiano. Hey, Mambo, Mambo Italiano. Go, 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 you mixed up Siciliano. Hey, all you Calabrese, do the Mambo like a crazy with the hey, Mambo. Don't want a tarantella. Hey, Mambo, no more mozzarella. Hey, Mambo, Mambo Italiana. Try an enchilada with your fish by a cara. Hey, gabagool. Yeah, what's with you? This is such a weird thing to be doing for people who don't know what this thing is.
It's bizarro week here at Fightful, and now you get some Tuesday night flavor on your Monday night show.
Yeah. Somebody's requested Imposter by Jim Carrey. The Battered to One Jim Beard has requested this, but has not actually said who I'm supposed to be. So I'm just going to do it as Gunther.
It's never Nathan Fraser.
No, it's never going to be Nathan Fraser. It's Gunther. Imposter! I'm just a middle-class white kid from Toronto. In spite of how I sound, my single win platinum. I'm bigger than Marley and Jimmy and Yellow Man, but I'm not even mulatto. My reggae is watered down. Hear me on the radio. Think I could not be blacker. What? But on my video, you see I'm really a cracker. This is, I'm not going to read any of these things. These are terrible things for me to read. Like Vanilla Ice, the people are sick of me. They put my boom boom down. No. I am the Intercontinental Champion. I'm not going to.
He doesn't have like a tagline.
No.
So you're just saying he's the champion.
Okay. So Alpha Bill says, I came that. So Fit Finley as Wilford Brimley. I don't even know what that means. Wilford Brimley.
Do you just say diabetes?
How does Fit Finley sound? It has been a long time since I heard a Fit Finley promo. Diabetes. No, probably not. I was as close as I could get, Bill. Sorry.
We're gonna get fired.
So fired. Jake Salazar. People paid for these.
I know.
Jake Salazar said, "Can Linda sing "Grind with Me" by Pretty Ricky?"
I didn't even know Ricky Starks did songs.
Baby, grind on me. Relax your mind. Take your time on me. Let me get deeper, shorty. Ride on me. Now come and sex me till your body gets weak. We slow grinding. Baby, grind on me. Relax your mind. Take your time on me. Let me get deeper, shorty. Ride on me. Now come and sex me till your body gets weak. It just repeats itself ad nauseum there. But that's all with that. Okay, we had a couple more of these from me for Linda. Here we go. The Battered to One Jam Beard says, can we get Linda singing Across the Nation by Union Underground?
It's so much more fun when people don't know what's going on.
Now get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, across the nation, and it's the sex, the gods, the freaks, the frauds. They're messing with me. Come on. Let's get it on. Move to the music. Play that freaking music. Move to the music, yeah. Let's get it on. Move to my music. Play that freaking music. Live through my music, yeah.
You know, your music is that Rat Pack stuff, though.
Yeah, it's not really for me. Yeah. Here we go.
I've very complimented Mateo that you equate this to anything that RJ City does. We have seen AEW. It's fantastic. We're as weird, but maybe not as directionally focused.
That's true. The Battered to One Jam Beard saying that the Jim Carrey song Imposter is a parody of Snow's Informer song. He did it for In Living Color. He says
we love the In Living Color.
He says for the old comedy show In Living Color. And when he says the old comedy show, that makes me feel very old. Yes, this is partly of where this came from.
I love it.
All right, finally, the Brent Lockman says, in the crowd at the Weird Al show, So why keep the crazy to Tuesday? Let's have a Linda singing Dare to Be Stupid. All right, here we go. It's a Weird Al song sung by me, Linda. Dare to Be Stupid. Put down that chainsaw and listen to me. It's time for us to join in the fight. It's time to let your babies grow up to be cowboys. It's time to let the bed bugs bite. You better put all your eggs in one basket. You better count your chickens before they hatch. You better sell some wine before it's time. You better find yourself an itch to scratch. You better squeeze all the shaman you can while Mr. Whipple's not around. Stick your head in the microwave. Get yourself a tan. Talk with your mouth full. Bite the hand that feeds you. Bite off more than you can chew. What can you do? You can dare to be stupid, which of course is what I've been doing now, because we're both going to get fired.
I think this is an unsubstantiated rumor and it's a load of crap, but
yeah. Finally, an actual one from an actual serious person who says, John says, what about Braun coming back this Friday in South Carolina? And then Bray comes back, and so we'll get the Wyatt family taking the titles away from the Usos.
that would be fun, but I don't think they're doing it.
I mean,
Bray's a pay-per-view return.
Still to this day, the one of the craziest. I think those might be the two craziest releases in my mind.
That's insane.
That happened. Bray, because he was a damn merch machine, and they could have ridden him to so much money. And Braun, because how is Braun not Vince's ultimate giant guy? Like, it didn't make any sense. There you go. So that was Linda's a thing. Linda's a thing that exists.
Thank you, Mateo. If you liked our zaniness, you can tune in tomorrow on our NXT post show. Thank you, Lorenzo. Oh my gosh. Please tweet that at Sean so we don't get fired.
Yes, please.
Sean hates
hold on. I'm gonna go. What do I do here? I'm gonna do a screenshot so I have this for posterity. No. There we go. Here we go. Okay. There we are. I got this now. I'm gonna save this. Save as. I'm going to save it to my photos. There we go. Okay, here we are. Now I can show this to Sean, and we're going to get more viewers tomorrow. It's wonderful.
We really did. It was like NXT was so bad for so long that we started doing organically. We started doing characters because it wasn't fun to talk about NXT very much. So we made it fun. There's a lot of costumes over there. There's some signage. There's a lot of props. And there's some singing.
I would say 2/3 to 3/4 of our audience every week does not watch NXT 2.0.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. I wonder what it'll be this week, though.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean despises Linda. Sean cannot stand it.
Thank you, Mateo, for becoming a new member to YouTube.
Think of it this way, Alex. They replaced Braun with Omos, Aziz, and Van Wagner. It's true. I don't watch NXT 2.0, but I never miss Tuesday's Sour Graps. See?
Y'all rule.
See? That's great.
Well,
all right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah. You
this
can hang out with us again tomorrow.
This is double the audience we normally get for a Tuesday show. So
it's true.
Thank you.
So we hope you liked all of our zaniness at the end. Watch the NXT post show tomorrow here back on Fightful YouTube. Wednesdays, I'm on the Mark Order podcast, but Alex is also right back here reviewing AEW Dynamite. Friday, I'm doing the AEW Rampage and SmackDown. I'm the main. Alex is doing Sour Graphs behind the paywall. I usually hop on there and rant about stuff I don't like, but now there might be stuff to like. So I plugged all our shows for the week, but you can also follow me at Miss Kate Fabe on Twitter and on TikTok, and you can follow me at Katestagrams on social media. Alex, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on the Twitter at Alex Sourgraps, normally tweeting about, all manner of things, but mostly about how much Dom sucks. Shamrock Shake getting speared in half by Edge and choked out by Rhea's thighs. What a night. Have you seen Mally Shannon doing her Linder impressions in the Lender commercial? Yes, I have. I think it's a terrible knockoff. I deserve to be that is copyright infringement. And
it's the Wish version of you, darling. It's the Wish version of you. I am planning
a lawsuit. Everybody else, thanks for hanging out. Everything sucks less.